Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, folks. Michael Zuber, one rental at a time. One of the funnest things I get to do now, having this YouTube channel, book, course, and all the amazing people watching, is I get to go out and find other experts that are doing the right things, that have expertise in areas I do not. And then occasionally I ask them to create content and they agree and they create just amazing bonus content for my course. And today we have the one and only Urban Teach, or Rosalind, who's created some amazing material around Section 8 or housing. How you doing, Rosalind?
I'm good, Michael. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being amazing. Thank you for doing everything you've done. I watched what you've added. It's already live in the course. There's a whole bonus section that says Section 8, and you are the one and only contributor. So thank you for doing that.
That's great. Glad to hear. Yes, glad I can help.
Awesome. Well, why don't we just let the entire YouTube world know why Section 8 is, what Section 8 is. Let's define it. And then let's just kind of give them a sketch of what you've included in the course.
Yes, sure. Yes. So Section 8 is a state-based voucher program that helps families that meet a current qualification in terms of their income that they have or that they don't have. And it helps them with paying their rent every month. So every state participates in the program. The program is state funded. And every state controls, how they want to do things. But pretty much it is a very good way for landlords, new investors to really get into the real estate game by acquiring properties in not so desirable areas and put them on the program. So it's just one more strategy to use to get, your rent paid.
Yeah. So one of the things I want people to realize is Section 8 or housing assistance is about 35, sometimes 40% of my portfolio. I've had it since day one. I think the third tenant I ever had was a Section 8 tenant. So it's something I have supported since day one. Every unit I have is available. It's first come, first serve, right? I have a qualification box. There we go. And the other thing about the Section 8 program that I want people to realize is we obviously in the pandemic, right? March of 2020, April, all of that. It was tough to be a landlord. I have to tell you, Rosalind, one of the income pieces I did not worry about was the Section 8 housing funds showing up on the first. I had lots of other concerns, but that was not one of them.
That's right. Yeah, same here. Likewise, it's just one of those things that, the money comes in regardless. It's on time all the time. I think I've had like a 2-day late payment, and that was because the system was being switched over or something like that.
Yeah.
But something that you never really have to worry about. I think, there is a lot of bad sense of, I don't even know what to call it, really, rumors, right? Maybe.
Yeah.
Of why the program is bad. But I think that, if you take the time to really learn how to, screen your tenants really well, understand the situation with these families, and if you price your unit according to the program, you really can benefit from having long-term tenants where the state is paying, anywhere. I don't know how much of the percentage is over in Cali, but over on the East Coast, you can get anywhere up to 80 to 85% of your rent paid by the state.
I have several tenants that are 100%.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah. So some of the things that Rosalind and I saw in the course that people will get as a bonus section is you've actually taken the time to give them websites where to go look for it. Because one of the things, folks, is, again, they're all state-based. And then there's, I don't know, I guess you would call it rent limits based on types, right? Bedrooms, baths, things of that nature.
Right.
And it's important to go look that stuff up because, again, it really lets you know if your unit will support the program.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's important to do your numbers beforehand. So I always tell folks, if you're going to buy property specifically to rent to the program in an area that you might not be too familiar with, go onto the website, check by zip code. They literally break it down by zip code, by county, by city, by state.
Yeah.
And they tell you, by bedroom type, how much money you'll be able to charge for that unit.
Yeah, the other thing that, and I'll probably add a video to that bonus section as well, because I got 20 plus years, is people ask about what happens with rent over the years. So in my experience, I've had 3 or 4 years where rent were flat. I've never seen rent go down. People ask about that all the time.
Yeah.
I've seen rent go up. I've also seen in the last couple of years, there was a long time you couldn't really file exceptions, right? The number was the number was the number.
Yeah.
But the last couple of years, because of the housing crisis, you can even now submit exceptions, or I don't know what they're technically called, but we've actually seen in this environment where we've actually gotten over the amount. I do not expect that to be a long-term trend.
Right.
But
Yeah.
in 2022, or at least 2021, it certainly happened quite a bit. Have you seen that?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, where I'm located, because there is such a minimal number of, a lot of people have vouchers, not enough properties accepting the vouchers.
Yeah.
So what happened in my county is that they have approved, at least for the last 3-4 years, a 4% rent increase every year. That's been my experience, which is not bad. And just looking at 2022's number, they've gone up about 7% from the 2021 number. Now, it doesn't mean that I can go charge that in that new renewal lease, but if I had a new property that just went on the program, I would be able to get that increased amount for 2022. So it's great.
Oh, it's absolutely great. The other thing we want to talk about is we got to remove some myths, right? Let's talk about vouchers first. This is one of the, I don't know, one of the unfortunate realities we have as people who provide units is, I don't know what it's like in your area, but let's just use just fictitious numbers. There's 1,000 vouchers approved in city 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
There might only be 400 units, and maybe only 100 of them are actually, open because the others are leased, right?
Right.
Most areas I've seen have more vouchers than units. So sometimes I hear politicians say we're going to give more money. It's not the money at this point. There's plenty of and the vouchers expire.
Yes,
right? It's
exactly.
Like you're on a wait list, you get it, you're approved, and you can't find anything. It can be a real struggle, right?
Right, absolutely. Yeah. From what I've seen people that have received a brand new voucher, they just got accepted after waiting for 2 years, and they have 90 days to find a unit, and they can't find a unit because, again, vacancy rates are really low, right? And then you have landlords that are like, I'm not taking it. I've heard so many bad things about it. So now that voucher holder has to either request a transfer to a different county or move out of state altogether just to take benefit of it.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. So the other thing I want to talk about, you said it very early on, and it's in the bonus section. The program does not give you permission to not do your job as a landlord. The biggest thing that I do, and that's why I treat everybody the same way, is the screening process.
Yes.
Right. Just because, rent is paid by, a portion of it is paid by the state, doesn't give you a permission as a landlord to be a bad landlord. Right. You need to qualify the tenants. You need to run them through your criteria. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely fair to say. Yes.
Yeah. The other thing I want to say, again, kind of talking about my experience with the program, is I've had thousands of tenants over the last 20 years, and I have 5 kind of horrible stories, right?
Okay.
Purposefully damaging, meaningful. But here's the reality. 3 of them were cash paying tenants. 2 of them were in the Section 8 program.
I believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In reality, folks, it's hard to average things. I would say on average, my Section 8 tenants are frankly easier to manage, because what people don't realize is those tenants, they have incentive to stay in the program, right? They have to behave in a certain way. I, as the landlord, can call the Section 8, I don't know, proctor or person or whoever's handling that unit, and indicate that they're not performing. They're not, living up to their end of the agreement. And the last thing a Section 8 tenant would want is to be kicked out of the program, because if I evict them, they're not going back.
Right. Absolutely. And I tell this to folks all the time. I'm like, all the horror stories I usually hear from people that own rentals, and they're like, oh, my Section 8 tenant's the worst. They don't follow the lease, or they don't pay their portion on time. And I'm like, okay, I ask them questions, and it ends up always 50% of the time, it ends up being the landlord never did their part, right? They didn't include certain clauses on their leases. They didn't say, look, I don't take partial payments. I need your social worker's contact information. They don't reach out to the local office when the problems do start. So that of course it builds up, and now it's too late, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of those pieces that really are on the landlord side. It's just that people don't want to admit that that's what
Yeah.
happens, right?
No, absolutely. And again, life happens, right? Of the many story, the 5 bad stories I have, many of the tenants were great for the first couple of years or whatever it was. And then they got caught by, a drug
Yeah.
or a relationship or
Mhm.
something. Life
Right.
happens to all of us.
Right.
And most of the crazy stories I hear about Section 8 are just the same stuff. And it really boils down to, most of the time, the landlord didn't do upfront. They took the quick money, right?
Yes,
They took the certain money, but they didn't qualify the tenant. And
that's right.
you still got to do your job.
Yeah, exactly. I'm glad we both agree on this, because it's something that I always talk about as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. The other thing to talk about is, again, I've been doing this a long time. I remember 8 or 9 years ago, California had a budget crisis, and there was a lot of talk about Section 8 program being cut. Payments have never been missed in 20 some odd years. I've never had a payment. I don't think I've had a payment late. In fact, most months, they're early. They actually do come the
Yeah.
last day of the month, usually, unless it's a weekend.
Mhm.
Yeah, I haven't. And again, some people don't want to do it, and that's your call, right?
Right,
And
right.
if you have a high-end unit, the good news is your unit won't even qualify, right? If you look at
Right.
the monopoly board in your property's boardwalk, you can't rent to Section 8, because that's why the income limit's there, right? You have a
That's right.
2-bedroom bath, 1 bath on boardwalk. You want $9,000 a month. You can't get a
Can
Section
do
8
it.
person. Can't do it. The limit
Right.
just doesn't play.
Yes.
So what are some other things about Section 8? For me, my experience has always been bedrooms, bath, and parking, right? People
Yeah.
ask all the time, well, what about square footage? I'm like, I've never seen that be, it's
No, not a requirement.
not a requirement, right? You do
They're
have,
just happy they're
yeah,
just happy they found a place that accepts the voucher, is my experience.
yeah. A 3-bedroom, 1 bath, 900 square feet rents for the same as a 1,250 3-bedroom, 1 bath.
Right.
Just because the living room's bigger and the kitchen's a little bigger. Really, it really doesn't change the rental amount
Yeah.
in Section 8.
Exactly. Yeah. Square footage has nothing to do with it. But the other thing is, from the landlord's perspective or the owner's perspective, it's a way to also not have to worry about putting in high-end materials into a reno, right?
Yeah.
So you're like, okay, well, depending on what tenant I'm renting to, I don't have to go all out and get the latest
Good point.
luxury plank floors, right? I
Right.
can just get something basic that's going to last a while.
Mhm.
Because again, it's not someone with the voucher is not necessarily looking for high-end stuff. They're just happy to get into a
Yeah.
place that takes it, that's clean, that's livable.
Safe and secure.
Right, exactly. Those are
Yeah.
the words. Yes.
Yeah. Don't be a bad landlord. Don't
Never
don't be a
that.
slumlord. Don't be a slumlord.
No.
Yeah. The other thing I want to highlight, again, in my experience with Section 8, if I were to look at my tenants who've stayed the longest, all of them are Section 8.
Yeah.
I suspect, if I look at my portfolio and go, how many tenants have been there 10 years or longer? I would strongly suspect 90% of them, certainly 85% of them, are Section 8. They just get in, they're great to deal with. They want to live there. They want their kids to go to school.
Right.
They don't want to move. Moving's expensive.
Yeah, moving's expensive, and moving again is hard to find. And in a couple of years ago, maybe like going 5-10 years ago, I remember that the local Section 8 offices, at least here in Jersey,
Mhm.
if your family downsized, right? Let's say you had 2 kids, but the kids are now adults and they moved out and it's
Mhm.
just you,
Mhm.
they would ask you to downsize your unit into a
Mhm.
smaller unit,
Yep.
right?
Mhm.
But that no longer happens, because the city now knows that it's so hard for these folks to find a vacancy, that I've known a couple of adults that are now just living on their own with a 2-3 bedroom unit, and the state is like, you know what, we'll just keep paying it because we know how hard it is.
Yeah, there's just not an option, right? They
Yeah.
don't want them to be homeless. So that's. And the other thing I want to say about Section 8 is there's a big kind of, to the uneducated, it's like they're all poor. No, they're fixed income, right? It's a
Right.
fixed income. A lot of folks end up on fixed income. A lot of older folks. I suspect. I don't know. I haven't checked this, but I would be shocked if not 40% of my Section 8 tenants are over 60 years old. They're just on fixed income and they need help.
That's right. Yeah.
So,
And when you think of it too, like veterans get
Veterans,
vouchers,
yeah,
right?
veterans, yeah,
Retirees get vouchers.
for sure.
I know a teacher who retired from the Board of Ed, 20 years ago. Her income is still eligible for Section 8
Yeah,
based on where she lives because her pension is not enough to
yeah.
cover it. So you have someone that is a former educator that's on the program. So it's really bad to assume that these folks are, kind of just lazy or don't
Mhm.
work or don't want to work. This is one of those myths again that gets told over and over again.
Yeah, there's certainly some of that, but that is in my experience. If you're a landlord doing your job, you're screening those out. That
Right.
you can say no. You can say no, right? There's a screening criteria and a right,
Yeah.
and it's treat everybody the same. That's why my I don't know what you call it, tenant selection doesn't even look at where the rent comes from, right? Whether it's
Okay.
Section 8 or cash, it's like here's my criteria.
Yeah.
First yes answer, right? So
Just
yeah.
answer, then you make your decision, right? Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. What other things you want to tell people about Section 8? Maybe a couple of the website that you teased, and you actually went in on your bonus section and you showed them the website. Just want to tease them here. What sites did you show and why is it important?
Yeah, so I went straight into the FMR website, which is the Fair Market Rents website. That's where the HUD program that controls, the Section 8 vouchers, they actually project all of the rental maximums allowed
Mhm.
for future years. So back in like October of 2021, they already had posted 2022's rent max. So
Yep.
it's a very good tool to go in and see,
Mhm.
by zip code, by city, by county, however you want to do your search,
Mhm.
what those numbers look like and what they look like in the past. So I do this a lot where I go back in and look at, 2019, 2018. Let me just see if
Yeah.
I'm going into a new market, I want to see how that market has been improving over the years. And I can tell you, Michael, for the last 5 markets I've checked, they've all gone up,
Yeah.
right? So I haven't seen one yet that where the rent max has been declining. So that's a pretty good sign for someone
Absolutely.
looking to use Section 8.
Yeah. Well, folks, again, one of the things you're going to get with my course, How to Get Started One Rental at a Time, is not only what I did to build one rental at a time, but you're going to get amazing bonus sections like the one Rosalind has done for us. But Rosalind, you're doing lots of amazing stuff. How can people find you, get a part of your world?
Yes, yes. So I'm on Instagram under urbanteach_, and then I do have a website under urbanteachnyc.com. And that's where all my classes and groups are listed and events as well. So yeah, come out and find me.
Awesome. Thank you very much for all you do. Have an amazing day.
Thank you, Michael.
You
Same to
got it.
you.
Thank you.